Hi everyone, welcome to Expert Talk. I am Ashley Ward and I represent Oregon State University. It is a university in the United States that specializes in the STEM majors. STEM means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and our best program is engineering. What I'm here to talk to you about today is scholarships and how you can find a scholarship from a U.S. university to help fund your bachelor's studies for your undergraduate education. So the things I'm going to talk about are the places you can look for funding. In the United States, you're not able to look for funding from the federal government like the domestic students do, so you have to be creative. So what you need to do is look in the specific department that you want to study. You want to look at the specific university that you're going to. Then you also always want to check the international programs of the university that you're attending. Lastly, number 4, there are always additional funding resources out in the world that you need to find in order to apply for and be eligible for. So we'll talk about that too. At the end, we'll leave a little bit of space for questions. So yeah, keep that in mind as we go. I'd love to answer your inquiries as they come up. So number 1, when you first start out looking for funding, there are some things we're going to wonder about. How much funding can I expect to receive? What is the funding going to cover? A lot of students will come up to me and they'll ask, "Hey, do you have full scholarships? Can I go to your university for free?" And the answer is no. And the answer is no for a lot of universities in the U.S. The reason is the U.S. government needs to see that you have enough funding to support yourself as a student in the U.S. for the duration of your study. If we gave you a full scholarship for the year, I don't know, maybe you wouldn't be able to afford the next year, and that's not good for anybody. So the things you're going to be looking for are partial scholarships. The amounts vary by institution. My institution is Oregon State University, and we are one of the fortunate ones because we have a large scholarship budget for international students. Our budget is it's giant. It's actually $2.2 million each year just for international students. And I'm really lucky that I get to be the one to help manage that and award that to students. So I'm a good person to talk to about this. Our awards will vary in amount. The smallest award we'll give is maybe $1,000 for a year, but the largest scholarship I personally administer is $25,000 for 1 year. That's huge. So the average scholarship that you can probably hope to achieve is a 30% of tuition scholarship. At OSU, Oregon State University, where I'm from, that equals about $9,000. But we also have a 50% tuition scholarship, which equals about $15,000. So look out for the bigger ones too. Usually those require a separate application. So now that you have kind of a general idea of what kind of funding you're going to be looking for, remember that the scholarships are usually just going to cover tuition and fees. It's a special scholarship that would help cover accommodation, books and supplies and things like this. But for the most part, you'll get a scholarship to help with tuition, but you'll still be expected to help with the rest of that. So when you're applying to a university, you'll submit your application, and a lot of scholarships are actually offered automatically through the admissions application. OSU is one of those. We have a scholarship that will automatically be awarded to students who get a 3.5 GPA on a 4.0 scale. Now, this one is very competitive. We get a lot of students that qualify for this one, and usually we can only award about 10 new scholarships of this a year. So it's important to apply early so that you can be eligible and receive full consideration for scholarships like these that are limited due to funding. So those are the ones that you can really just sit back and relax and see if you will be awarded these. A lot of other scholarships require some extra work on your part. For instance, in our international programs division, so it's important for you to understand, there's the university, then there's usually a separate department that is what we call international programs, but it might be called international, I don't know, student support or something similar to this. And sometimes they have a separate fund, like we do, for scholarships for international students. They do have a separate application, so you'll need to look it up on the website and see what specifications they're looking for, what the application says to do. In our case, the application is really fun. I sit on the committee, so I get to read those applications and help decide who gets awarded these scholarships. And this scholarship application involves a couple of essays and a video presentation. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about essays and how you can write a really good one. Because a lot of these scholarships, they're not just going to give you the money for free. They want to see why you deserve it, why you're the best student from Brazil who deserves this money. So to write a scholarship essay, my number one rule is to write a separate scholarship essay for each scholarship you are applying for. I know it's a lot of work, and I know it sounds daunting, but when you're on the committee and you're reading a lot of scholarship essays, you can pluck the one that was used as a one-size-fits-all essay immediately. Everyone can tell. So it's the number one thing to write a separate one that's very unique and designed for the specific scholarship you're applying for. Another bit of advice I can give you here is to have somebody else read your essay before you turn it in. Let them know what the essay prompt is and say, hey, do you think that my point is getting across? Do you think I sound like the kind of student that deserves this scholarship? And they'll give you some hopefully honest advice and help you edit it and make it better. So that's my advice there. The essay prompts are going to vary. Sometimes they're going to ask you about what kind of volunteer experience you've done. Sometimes they're going to ask you about what studies you like, someone who has inspired you. Why do you want to study in the US? In our case, the International Cultural Service Program scholarship that we have through international programs, this is the 50% of tuition scholarship, the $15,000 one. The essays that we want you to write for this scholarship application involve what have you experienced of other cultures and what have you learned? When have you interacted with people from different nations, different languages? What was valuable about that experience? What did you learn? Secondly, we want you to write about what kind of value you're going to bring to Oregon State University as a campus, because this scholarship is not just an award, it's a program. We want you to be a cultural ambassador to our campus. So we want to know what you think you would do to enrich our culture. What will you teach us about Brazilian culture or family life or dress or food that would be really interesting to us, that would really enrich our campus? The second part of this application is actually a video presentation. And here's where you're going to need to come out of your comfort zone a little bit, get in front of a camera and do a 2-minute YouTube video where you present some aspect of your culture in an interesting way where we can learn something new but still be entertained. Because what the scholarship was all about is seeing if you could present about your culture on campus to the university and to the community there. So we want to see what kind of presenter you are and what kind of experiences you can draw from your life that we can learn from. So those are a couple of things. Just going off of, so far we've touched on how to get scholarships through the university through the application. We've touched on how to get scholarships through international programs. A third way that you can do it is through your individual program that you're applying to. So say you're a business student or you're going to study marketing. You're probably going to study under the College of Business. The College of Business is going to be given a fund of scholarship dollars that they can award to students within their major. Usually this is a separate application. I know, so many applications, but this is what you have to do to get the kind of funding you want in the US. They're going to be looking for usually major specific reasons. They're going to want to know why you chose this major. why you want this program. Maybe is there a professor or a lecturer or a professional in the field that you have really looked up to? And that's what those essays are going to be about. The same rules for essays apply that we talked about before. And then fourth, the last place you want to check for scholarships is everywhere. At OSU on our website, we actually have a really good list of all of the outside scholarship resources that you can look for, because they're going to be with different organizations. Ones that come to my mind are NASA, NAFSA.com. This is an organization that specializes in international education to the U.S., and they will help you find different databases and search engines to find scholarship funding for international students who want to study at the U.S. You're going to want to critique or create your profile as accurately as possible, because these scholarships are going to be given to specific groups of people. They might be looking for, say, women and engineering and minorities. This is a specific scholarship that I know that we have some funding for at Oregon State, and so I'm sure you could find it elsewhere in the U.S. Sometimes it's about your age range, sometimes it's about the region where you grew up, sometimes it's your gender, sometimes it's the, your country that you're from, because maybe there aren't a lot of people from Brazil at that university, and so they want to encourage more people there, so they'll offer a scholarship. It's your job when you're looking for scholarships to find out, why do these people want to give away money? There's got to be a reason. They've set up this fund and they want to just give money away. So why do they want to give it away? Once you find out that reason, then that's when you need to articulate why you are the person that they should give the money to. So say they want to give it to really aspiring young artists from backgrounds that were limited, that didn't have the kind of financial resources they needed to succeed, but they still managed to do it. Maybe that sounds like you, and you can present yourself in such a way to be the perfect candidate for that scholarship. And that's really the trick. So I actually missed this in the introduction when I was saying, hey, who I am and what I'm about. I'm actually sitting here in the Experimento office in Sao Paulo. I have been all week running around Sao Paulo, going to high schools, talking to students about scholarship resources, about my university, and it's all with Experimento's help. I am so happy to be in a professional partnership with Experimento, because they have won the #1 education consulting agency the last 4 years in a row by a very prominent travel magazine in Brazil. What's the name?
Star Travel Magazine.
Star Travel Magazine. I couldn't remember the name, but Experimento has won this award 4 years in a row. That is just another 5 years in a row. I just heard from the back that it's actually 5 years. So it's very impressive, and I'm not surprised. I have worked with them all week, and I can just say they are an excellent connection in Brazil to top universities. And to be honest, sometimes the application process is daunting. It's complicated. There are a lot of steps. Experimento, they are the experts, and they have the trust of a lot of high quality top universities like mine, like Oregon State University, and so they can be that connection for you. They can be your connection to me if you have more questions about scholarships and all kinds of stuff. So just wanted to do a little plug, because that's where I'm at, Experimento in Sao Paulo. Just about to hop on a plane, but I have really enjoyed my week here. So talking more about scholarships at OSU, I want to get into a little bit more detail about my specific university, because I've told you kind of the 4 steps that you can do that applies to all schools. That applies to all schools in America that you're going to be applying for. You want to look at the university itself. You want to look at the International Programs Division. You want to look at the specific department that you're applying for, and you also want to look at outside scholarship resources. There are 4 places where you can find funding for tuition and maybe even accommodation too, if you're lucky. So now I'd like to give you an overview of the scholarships that we have at my school, because I'm so proud of them and I want to make sure you know what we have available. So Number one, specific to Brazil, we have a regional scholarship fund specific for Brazilian students that Experimento can help you get connected with. These scholarships are done on a case-by-case basis, and it's usually on personal recommendation by our team here in Brazil. So regional scholarships specific to your country. Secondly, we have a merit-based scholarship. This scholarship is a 30% scholarship that is worth $9,000 at OSU, and it applies to an undergraduate pathway program. The undergraduate pathway program at OSU is essentially the first year of undergraduate that is specifically catered for an international student that involves some English language study, some bridge courses to help you better understand the specific vocabulary that's happening in these like high level, maybe engineering or business classes that you're taking at the university. And it's a soft landing. It provides tons of support for you in your first year at university. So we have special scholarships set up just for these pathway programs because we want to encourage international students into the university. We have a high international student population. Already we have 13% international, but we want more, and we specifically want students from Brazil. So that's where you come in. We want you to apply, and we want you to find the program that best fits you. Another great thing about the pathway program, one thing, it's totally designed for international students, but two, the entry requirements are a little bit lower than direct entry. So it's easier to get in because we know that the high schools in Brazil are super competitive. We know they're really hard, and you might be like the best student in your class, but you're not getting the best grades, and we understand that. And we understand that our grades that we set, our grade point minimum, is really high because the high schools in America might not be as difficult as the ones here. So that's why we're really happy that we have the pathway programs that offer a lower entry requirement so that you still have a chance to come to my university. So we have the regional and the merit-based, and these both apply to the pathway programs. I have another one that's extra special. It's called the Continued Success Scholarship. The reason I like this one is because it's a reward for you doing a job well done. This is for students who have come in the pathway program, did a great job, finished in the time that they were supposed to, whether 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. They had a grade point average of 3.75 out of 4. So it's a really good GPA, but I know you can do it. If you get this requirement, you will automatically get awarded a $6,000 into OSU Continued Success Scholarship for your first year at OSU, just as a thank you, just for doing a job well done. No application is needed for that one. Okay, so now you're like, okay, so now I'm done with my pathway, now I'm going to the university in my second year as a sophomore student. What kind of funding can I get now at OSU? You can get several kinds of awards, because remember, you're going to check in international programs, you're going to check at the university, you're going to check in your specific college, and you're going to check outside scholarship resources. So there's tons of awards out there just waiting for you to be the right candidate for them. The first scholarship I want you to apply for in your second year is the International Cultural Service Program. That's the one I talked to you about before that includes the essays and the video presentation. So that's the biggest one that you can get. It's the $15,000, 50% tuition scholarship. And here's the good news. This is kind of a special thing, but the Continued Success Scholarship, the $6,000 one, can be combined with the $15,000 ICSP scholarship. That's huge. That's $21,000 when you're a sophomore student. It's incredible. The Continued Success one is a one-time award, so it can't happen like that again, but it's kind of like a special booster for your second year. Maybe if you're feeling a little tired of studying, that can be a little encouragement to keep you going the rest of your studies. And then the International Cultural Service Program, that $15,000 scholarship, it's awarded year by year, but you can apply each year, and as long as you keep your grades up, you can get it every year. So it's up to you. It's up to you to keep your grades up, to be involved in the program, and to remember to apply. And you can get that funding all through your program. Those are some of the highlights about the scholarships at my university. I hope you've learned a lot about the scholarships that you can get in the U.S. from American universities in general and from outside scholarship resources. Now, we've got about 7 minutes left. I want to leave some time open for you guys to ask some questions. So let's see if we have any questions. Here, we've got one from Raphael. Do you offer athletic scholarships? Good question. I forgot to mention this one. So at Oregon State University, we are a Division I school for lots of sports, including football, soccer, basketball, all these big ones. What that means is we're super competitive, and it's actually really hard to get on the team. But if you are a star student, you are the best soccer player in the world. I encourage you to get in touch with our coaches, because how it works is you have to actually contact our coaches through a recruitment questionnaire on our athletics website. And then so you put in your information, and that coach is going to want to see videos of you. They want you to prove it. You think you're the best soccer player in Brazil, so show them the video that proves it. I want you to be persistent with the coaches too, because they are really busy. If you email them one time, maybe they won't get back to you, and that might be the end of the story. But not for you, because you're going to persist and email them every week until you get a response. The athletic scholarships are the big ones. They can cover your tuition between 1% and 100%. So it could be a golden ticket. It could be that full scholarship that I said did not exist. But like I said, they're very competitive. So if you want it, you have to really, really want it and work for it. Let's see. Gabriella says, I am not an excellent student. My mark is 6 out of 10. Am I eligible to get a scholarship? Gabriella, that is a great question, and that's another reason why we are so happy that we have the pathway programs available to you. So if you have a 6 out of 10, depending on your transcript and depending on how it gets worked out, sounds to me like you would be eligible for one of our undergraduate pathway programs. Depending on how your grade point average gets articulated in the system, there might be a scholarship for you. Remember when I talked about how there was a regional scholarship just for Brazil? That one doesn't depend on your grades. That one really depends on the recommendation that we get from our team here in Brazil, from the team at Experimento. If they contact me and say, hey, this is a great student. She might not have the grades, but she is excellent, she's got potential, and we believe in her. That will speak to my heart and the scholarship committee's heart, and we have scholarship funding available that is not contingent just based on grades, because we know that that's not everything, and we want to make sure that you have the chance to prove yourself at university and become the great student that we know you are meant to be. Okay, third question from Pedro. He says, I heard that liberal arts is such a nice major and we don't have anything similar in Brazil. Can you please let me know more about it? Not quite on topic, Pedro, but I'll answer your question. Mostly because I myself am a liberal arts graduate and I had a great experience. So I don't know if you knew this about me, but I am actually an alumni of Oregon State University. I attended starting in 2008 and had the time of my life. When I started at Oregon State University, I feel like part of it is when my mind opened, my heart opened. I've never met so many friends in my life. I've never felt so intellectually stimulated in my life. Never read so many books, because that's something you can look forward to in a liberal arts education. What I studied in liberal arts was I studied English literature and writing, and I got a Bachelor of Art in doing this. The Bachelor of Art is different from a Bachelor of Science in that instead of doing more math and science classes, you will instead do more language, history. I did a women's studies class, things like this that are a little bit out of the norm, that help round you out as a student in different ways. The great thing about a liberal arts education is you will learn a little bit about a lot of things. You'll still have a specialty, you'll still have your major, like how mine was English literature and writing, I was still, you know, a specialist in math and took the really high division classes in math and loved it. But I also got to take history of Africa. You know, I got to take dance. I got to take all these other classes that really stimulated my curiosity about the world, made me a well-rounded person, and my experience at university was excellent. And that was at OSU, a school that's known for being a STEM school, but it was still an excellent experience for me in liberal arts. Okay, pretty soon I've got to fly away. I've got to go back to Oregon. I've loved my time in Brazil, but the time is drawing short. I don't see any more questions on the Skype, so I think I'm going to end it for today. But if any more questions come up, I've got an excellent team here at Experimento that can help you with those. I just want to say thank you so much for sitting with me today, talking about scholarships. It's been awesome. Once again, I'm Ashley Ward from Oregon State University, talking to you about scholarships here at Experimento in Sao Paulo. Bye.